Welcome to Zen with a Smile. Recently I did my first rough attempt at putting some thoughts and some feelings onto YouTube. And I noticed that sound wasn't very good. I had some music playing in the background too, which is probably not the best idea. But anyway, if you put on headphones, you can listen to that first one. And I've decided that this is a work in progress, as I said last time. Last time I talked to you, but I've decided that I'm going to keep. I liked the first one. It's rough, and you can see that my setup leaves a lot to be desired. I'm just a rookie at this broadcast business, but it's not really a business. It's an avocation. But that's beside the point. My intention was that it was time for me to share some things that I learned after all these years. I've been kind of keeping it to myself for the most part. So today, I'd like to talk a little bit about meditation. And again, if you saw my first video, if you could hear it, I talked about Zen with a smile. And I'm going to, my better half commented on my first attempt at talking Zen with a smile, but I didn't smile enough. But trust me, inside I'm smiling. And people have told me I have laughing eyes. Maybe sleepy eyes too, but laughing eyes. Anyway, I'll try to put in those smiles because this is, after all, Zen with a smile. And in the choice of this name for my work and my broadcast is heartfelt. And I had mentioned earlier that after rigorous training and taking myself way too seriously for too many years, it wasn't until I hit my 60s that I started to be able to relax into the person that I am and be at ease, totally at ease. But the one thing that has been consistent through my varied path of spiritual pursuit has been meditation. And I've always been worried about, I was worried about the mechanics. How I should sit, what mudras, what hand gestures, how should my hands be, where should they be, how straight my back must be. And again, 2 years of struggle. 2.5, 3 years in a Zen dojo where if I moved an inch, the Roshi would jump all up and down on my bones. So unpleasant. Blood, sweat, and tears is what I thought the spiritual pursuit was when I was with Rinzai Zen. Rinzai Zen discipline. But I had mentioned that I went to Hawaii and found out something that suited me. We still practice the same Rinzai Zen, but we didn't cloister. We didn't hide out in a temple. We didn't wear a uniform. We didn't wear a costume. We had different prerogatives, different parameters. Our job, we were told from the very beginning, is to be a monk without a robe. And trust me, that's tough. You got the little costume, like my pictures in the background. I'll talk about those another time. Little costume, and people respect you and say, Roshi, Sensei, Sifu. Yeah. But to be a monk without a robe was what we were told to do. And seldom talk about our practice. Don't talk about being ordained. Practice martial arts, but live a life. Have a family, have a job, have all those things that pull at your soul. All those things that pull at your soul. But again, meditation was steady. The meditation was there. And of course, meditation starts with breathing. And breathing is automatic, isn't it? But it's a disciplined breathing, and there's a way to breathe and a way not to breathe. And I think my best teacher that I've ever seen is a little baby laying on its back in a crib, and watch the tummy rise, and watch it fall, and listen to the breath. That's the breath that you want. Babies know. We forget. A good friend of mine, a brother of mine, he forgets to breathe. That sounds funny, but it's almost panic. You breathe the top half of your lungs. You never get the bottom half of the lungs. There's never a big exhale where you get that dead air out of your lungs and get it out and put some fresh one in. Put some clean one in. Forget to breathe. Forget to breathe. And what happens when you forget to breathe? You start to panic. Your voice goes up. Certainly not peace of mind. Certainly not contemplated. So breathing lies behind everything. But meditation, again, in my relaxed 60s, I haven't taken myself or the disciplines as strict. I can't sit. Never did have much of a posture. My back has always been kind of bent. And I tried to pull my shoulders back, I remember. And I think maybe sitting on the floor, on a cushion, would be a good practice to keep my back, to try to make the effort to keep my back straight. But pretty much didn't succeed. And as I get older, I'll probably be looking for coins on the ground. But anyway, it's all okay. It's who I am. But again, blood, sweat, and tears. In the dojo, in the temple in Japan, we were taught that we're warriors, samurai tradition, warriors, with ikebana, which is flower arranging, with chadao, tea ceremony, with our martial arts, with our meditation. All this was the training of a warrior. And the warrior got to struggle, got to sweat. And when I came back to Hawaii after staying in Japan, I decided to leave the temple life. Came to Hawaii, I found this like-minded group practice again, Rensai Zen. As far as I know, the biggest difference between Soto Zen, the two schools, Soto Zen and Rensai Zen, I'm sure there's other ones, but the thing that you notice the most is that Soto Zen puts their back in a circle, they put their back to each other and face the wall. Rensai Zen sits in a circle and faces each other. Of course, there's something about instant enlightenment, and enlightenment takes a lot of time and effort. There are some differences, but I don't really concern myself with the differences, in my life, I've followed, Hinduism from my first guru, who was not in a body. He was already gone. Paramahamsa Yogananda, who passed shortly after I was born, I think the next year. Self-realization fellowship, Paramahamsa Yogananda. And my first teacher, my first guru, I hate that word, I'm sorry, I really don't like it. It's just been over time. I like teacher, sensei, Laos, I like that better. Anyway, he had passed. And his strong influence, his autobiography of a yogi, I really recommend that to anybody that wants to get a taste of what it would be like to live in the late 18th century, late 19th century. early 20th century. And the things that could happen in the villages and in the folklore and in the, all those guys, all those Indian guys, they got a story. How they met their teacher, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, there's a lot of stories there. And they're fascinating. And there's magic and, I can be in two bodies at once and all this other kind of stuff. It didn't really, it didn't really interest me much. I was looking to find out who and what and why. Who and what and why. But anyway, after many, many years on my own, and academically studying Indian philosophy in university quite rigorously, very, very academic stuff. But I was still meditating, and my practice was basically always the same. Try to sit up straight. Try to clear my mind. Try to empty my mind. Be still, like a calm water. Be like a mirror that just reflects back. All these little beautiful catchphrases that will appeal to me, but I don't know what the hell it really meant, because my mind was raging all the time. When I say raging, that's a little harsh, but it's busy. It's talking. It's planning. It's doing all the things that mind can do so well. Again, I mentioned last time that the only solution I ever came up with is to give my mind some chores. When I'm trying to meditate, I say, okay, let's think about this or plan that, or what do you think about that? And give it a chore, and it just goes off in its merry way. And it doesn't bother me. I can still hear a little rumbling back there and everything, but it's content. It's content. It's doing its job. It's forgetting its main job is to protect the ego. Support and protect the ego. And so you give it some chores and it forgets about that job, because ego is something that you definitely have to put to rest at some point in your spiritual endeavors. I was able to put most of my ego behind me many, many years ago, but still a little bit sensitive to criticism. And that's one of the reasons I put myself out here on YouTube, and now I can get all the criticism that you want to give me. And pride and hubris and all the things are taking myself too seriously. But anyway, I was aware that the ego was not my friend. An ego was a barrier between what I wanted, the answers that I wanted, if there were answers, and the ego was a barrier. And I got a lot of peace from meditation. Bliss is something that I haven't experienced that many times, to be very frank with you. Bliss is kind of a counter to who I am, I could almost say. I'm a lot of things, but blissful might not be one of the things that I am. But it sure is nice when you hit it. And I believe that bliss is there all the time, and you can plug into it. But I can only take small doses, quite honestly, We have to stay in this vehicle. And bliss will blast you right out of that. You forget to eat, and that's how they sit for days. The extreme yogis sit for days in blissed out, Yeah. Reminds me a little bit of an acid trip, been there, done that. But no, I'm not trying to poo-poo. I'm not trying to diss bliss. How about that? I'm not trying to diss it. It's a beautiful thing, and it's there. It's always there. And I can find it. But maybe I'll save that for after I leave this body and just be in a constant state of bliss. But meanwhile, I have to put a little bit of energy onto what's going on right now, because that's all there is. So, meditation, strict discipline. When my after let's see, I started 10, 12 years old meditating. When I was in Japan, I was probably, God, it's hard to remember, in my 30s, middle 30s maybe. So that in 10, 15 years of already self-styled meditation. And I was able to meet some meditation groups, and they weren't the Eastern, they were Western people. And we did a lot of fun things, you know. We talked to spaceships and all kind of stuff, you know. But basically, it was a meditation practice where we chant, and we use really a lot in groups. It's really powerful. Candles, incense. Yeah, and I had a group of friends in Hawaii that was quite nice. So it was my first introduction to social meditation. Group meditation. In the early 80s, I had a little bit of opportunity to get together with the Siddha Foundation, Baba, and went through some experiences in Santa Monica with that group. At the same time doing Sai. I don't know, those of you that know that's what Sai is, but we won't go there. Anyway, the search, you know, I never eliminated anything that would be a possibility. When I went, Muktananda had passed shortly before I was introduced to his group there in Santa Monica. He'd already gone only like 1 week. So here again, somebody I admired him, Muktananda. I didn't feel the resonance with him that I felt with Paramahamsa Yogananda. But I spent some time, because it created a pretty nice environment. I like the idea. First time where the sexes were separated, male and female, and chanting back and forth, and getting to really see the spiritual energy, the differences between the male energy and the female energy. Of course, they say that we're looking for the combination of both androgynous, you know, both energies combined. But it was when I became conscious of the separation of the sexes and the chanting and the sounds and the vibration, and how really different women are than men. Yeah, of course, I had a clue that there was a difference. Okay, I wasn't totally out of it. I knew there was differences, but I never really spiritual. We're all spiritual beings, so we're in this together. But I just got a little glimpse, and again, that was a group participation. Sometimes it'd be as many as 1,500 people, so large groups. And then I got kind of, you know, as I want to do, as happens to me, I've always been a lone ranger. I thought that only me, only I, the little I, only the meditation was a solitary, spiritual search was a solitary affair, and I never met a teacher in the flesh yet. I never met a teacher in the flesh. But again, the concept was meditation, and I never let go of that. I never missed it. I never went through periods of time without it. It was a constant companion. Over the years, it's kind of evolved because I can't sit on the floor like I used to anymore. I just can't. I sit in a chair. Okay? The feet on the floor, sit in a chair. So, I think that, hey, when I sit on the floor, how to get up? It's far to the floor, you know? Never know it when you're 30, 20, 30, 40, 50. When you get your 60s, that floor is, when you're sitting down there, it's tough to get up. At least for me. And again, most of my life, I carried 20 kilos more than I'm weighing at this current time. Why? And what does it mean? It all has meaning, of course. At another time, we'll talk about weight. We'll talk about height. We'll talk about those kind of things. But now it's meditation. So my practice is, I spend multiple hours in meditation every day. But I experiment with walking meditation. I experimented with meditation while I'm riding my bike. I experiment with meditation while I'm cooking dinner. And when I say meditation, to me, meditation is just being here now. The mechanics of it, other than breathing, are only to help you get in the spirit. It's nice to have a place that you meditate all the time. I'm in my little room that's now, my meditation room has become my YouTube room. But it's all in the same spirit, so I think it's going to work. It feels good to me to be doing this, okay? So, I'm talking about meditation. I'm also talking about teaching. Is a teaching necessary? Well, I read all the stuff. I read it all. And people will have different opinions, and there comes a stage when I think a teacher is important. Now, whether that teacher is actually enlightened, we talk about enlightenment. Whether he's not enlightened is not really the crucial point. What is important is, can he guide you? Do you resonate with him? Does it feel powerful when you're with him in his presence? Do you respect what he has to tell you? Can you surrender to him? Because to adequately respect a teacher, it includes surrender. Surrender to the master's will. So that's a pretty vulnerable, it's a pretty big thing to give to anybody. And it's definitely not to be entered in lightly. But as I know, we never know who is our teacher. Sometimes I have a question and I find the answer in a TV commercial or in a book that I'm reading that has nothing to do with what the answer just jumps out of me. Oh, because I used to be a man of questions, a man full of questions, an American. Why? Why? When I came to Taiwan 21 years ago, why? I was immersed in a alien culture. Of course, they called me the alien. I was the alien, and that's true. I was the alien, but it sure seemed alien to me. The language, the customs, the hustle bustle. Taipei is a crowded place, and people are always, it seems like people are always in a hurry. And I used to ask about where are they going? It's a small island. Nowhere to go. If I walk like a turtle. I'm a slow walker, but a steady one. I can walk for days, but I'm never in a hurry. I'll get up early and leave early because I like to be on time. I like to be punctual. It's important to me to be punctual. I like to be on time. Okay? So, breathing again. Come back to always breathe. And I haven't smiled in a long time, so I should remember to smile. I haven't smiled in a long time. But I have been breathing. I don't know if I'm practicing the correct breathing all the time, but and now I'm trying to focus on, I'm not trying. I'm focusing on, I hate that word. Sorry. It's not in my skill set. I'm not a focused person. To the casual advisor, observer, I might even seem scatterbrained. But there's a method to my madness, and I think I think there's a method to my madness. But I do meditate several hours a day. I said, I've kind of expanded the ways that I meditate because I believe that you can physically move your body. When I was in the temple, we had 2 or 3 hours a day. We called it walking meditation, where you walked, kind of organized walk. You kind of followed each other, and sometimes chanting, sometimes silence, but the mind was still doing this. The mind was still doing this thing. Okay, the mind was still doing this thing, and so I think generally it's a loosening up of the strict protocols and the strict discipline that was particularly given to me in Japan, because our Japanese friends, well, what can I say? Chinese seem to tend towards chaos, and Japanese sort of thrive on organization, sort of thrive on following the rules. And here in Taiwan, there are no rules. I guess that's the easiest way to put it. There might be a rule on paper, but very few people will follow a rule. Stand in line? Oh my God, forget it. No queuing. They tried to force it on at the MRT and some transportation, but it just doesn't sit well with them. It's not their natural state. When I was in Taiwan, first came to Taipei, I recognized it as organized chaos. Totally chaotic. Pandemonium is a better word. Organized pandemonium. I like that word. I love words. Organized pandemonium. It's just everybody going everywhere. Everybody going different directions. Everybody hurry, right? Scooters on the sidewalk. Scooters going up the sides of walls. Scooters falling down from the sky. It just seemed to me sights and sounds and smells. But being someone that pays attention to the rhythm of life, pay attention to the rhythm of life, I could see that beneath all that there's an organization. They knew what they were doing, even though it looked like nobody had a clue or gave a shit what they were doing. They knew what they were doing, had a clue, and it worked. I noticed that if traffic was really organized, it would probably come to gridlock, it would probably come to a standstill. It was the flow, that people just go and fill the spaces, and because they're very uncomfortable with empty space, they gotta fill it somehow. Empty space is a challenge for them. So you can imagine that the head is supposed to be an empty space, that probably my Chinese brothers and sisters might have a really difficult idea with this concept of empty. Empty means put something there. Beautiful beach, build a cement factory. Peaceful river, put put a mill. Okay? So the concept of quiet, nature, and solitude, these are all kind of things that are an enigma to the culture in which I find myself. But it does give me a lot of room. It gives me a lot of room to do what I want to do. Because what I want to do is probably none of them want to do it. or not many of them. Okay? That's why I'm sitting here in Hualien and I'm looking out my window from the 11th floor of my building and I see only green. And there's some cement buildings. I pass the golf course. I live across from a golf course. And it's beautiful. I can see the mountains and watch the clouds. And I ride my bicycle rigorously every day, a couple hours a day, because I love it. There's beautiful bike paths here. Life in Hualien has really been the best thing for me. I've been here two times. I came 3 years after I got here. I was here in 2000 for a couple of years. And I had to work until I had to teach at university until I could get back here and retire and get back here, where I felt really good in Hualien on the east coast of Taiwan. Once the sun come up, look on the beach, still go surfing. Yeah. So, never did have a teacher that was in body. Never did have a teacher that was a lot that was with me physically, that I could be in their physical presence. One Paramahamsa Yogananda, as I said, he was died before I was born, and I didn't discover him until I was about 12, somewhere between 10 and 12, when I got introduced to his book. My mom had it on a bookshelf because she was into all those things. Surprisingly, or maybe not so surprisingly, but found it on her bookshelf. Just a voracious reader as a youth, and especially I wanted to find out about other than science fiction and fantasy, and social fiction, and I have a love for history too. So history resonates with me. But no teacher, and I thought, I hit my 60s in full stride, and thought, looks like a teacher is not for me. And then I had a very, sometime I'll share it, it's another video, I had a very interesting experience where every fiber of my being was tested in every sense. And someone said that I'd known for quite a while, been trying to introduce me to their teacher. Don't you think it's time now? So yeah. I found somebody when I was 65 here in Taiwan, became my teacher. Even though I was in a body, the funny thing was that we couldn't speak. He doesn't speak English, and my Chinese really sucks. Right? After 20 years, I know about 10 words and 15 words. And I'm not bragging, just stating the facts. It's not that I don't care. It's that didn't sink in. I didn't come here until I was almost 50. I came here when I was 49 years old. Maybe they say language acquisition. But I can listen and get the gist. I get everything that I need. I was really good at adapter. I watch, I study, and that'll be another. I want to tell you about silent witness. So I found a teacher, and had an opportunity, a very rare opportunity to be with him, almost one-on-one. We always had translators, and he was always have his minder, like they all do. His minder was always there, but she was not intrusive, and interpreter was a friend. And so it was a rare opportunity for the interpreter to spend time with him, with this man too, this beautiful man. And most of the time, we would just simply laugh. Honest, we would just laugh like a couple kids. It was very childlike. It was so beautiful. And he'd ask me if I have any, after we'd done laughing, he asked me if I had any questions. And by then, I had no questions. I'd given up on questions. Being a man that questioned everything. It's funny that something happened in 62, 63, where questions just didn't matter anymore. What I realized is that when I need to know, I will know. Plug into the source, the information, everything that ever has been, ever will be, and is now, is available. It's right here with us. We're with ether. We're surrounded, breathing it in. And all you have to do is pay attention. Pay attention, and the answers are always there. So even studying became a lot different, I read for entertainment now. I read to help me sleep. I read when I wake up in the middle of the night, I will read. But it's a tool. and it's enjoyment. But the striving, my whole life was dedicated to learning, getting information, and that kind of went with the questions. So here I was with a very, very special man, and invited to ask him questions, basically one-on-one. And I would always laugh and say the same thing. I got no questions. I got no questions. So now I had a teacher who was alive, but we didn't speak the same language. Isn't it ironic? My first teacher was not with us in a physical form. My second kind of teacher was already dead too. Went on, passed on, passed on. And finding this teacher later in my life was very special, and I felt blessed that the times that I had with him were really special. There came a time when, I guess, when I had come as far as I was going to be able to come with a teacher, and the rest was up to me. So I was so grateful to have those 4 or 5 years with a teacher, someone to look up to, someone to watch closely. It was a great thing. But I believe that, I know that at a certain point, it is the inward journey. I guess my favorite analogy was my teacher took me to a cliff, to the edge of a precipice, and he simply said, "Jump." And I jumped. And that's another story. So I have no idea how long this time together has been this time. I don't know if the audio will be better. I'm trying to get a mic. I'm trying to improve. Anyway, I think this is a good time to stop right here. Thank you to all the 1 or 2 of you that are listening. And maybe that will grow. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Bye-bye.